growing in like a single organism. So that really, from that one inspiration, your entire artistic career evolved? Is that a fair statement?
I'm not exactly sure about that. I mean, the what I call the stones, the small ceramic pieces, that evolved from that. And this actually came from that. I mean, I remember getting the inspiration for this. I remember I had a small stone in my hand out in the woods near a little stream, and I looked at it and I imagined, God, what if that was like a larger image? And I had no idea what that meant at the time, and it took a long time, but eventually it went into this. So maybe that is true, that was the inlet for my work there. Maybe that is true.
Original drawing, the embryonic form is
right. It is
in a house.
In an enclosure, yeah.
So
that's right.
the tabernacle.
Yeah, even that, yeah.
Are just
and actually, but before I started the stones, an early project in art school was something like the shrines. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I finished the piece, the central thing in it was I think it might have been a cat skull. It was something I found, a found object, and that was what was in the center. And then later I replaced it with one of the stones.
So you're making the shrines before you were making the stones?
Yeah, actually, if I look back, that did start manifesting even before that.
Do you have any of those still? Or
No.
Images of them?
Well, there's one specific. I probably have a slide of it, and it was in my first show.
How much of your art is gone now, sold or given
Well,
away?
most of it. And there's actually a lot of stuff. I mean, I feel so, lazy and unproductive, but I've done a tremendous quantity of work in my life. And I don't realize, of course, I'm like really old now, and I don't realize how much time has gone past. But I've sold a lot of work, and it's in a lot of places. I'm virtually unknown, really. I'm kind of like, I was kind of a cult hero or something, maybe in Cleveland for a while, where people really appreciated my work. I had shows. I felt like, people come because they love the work, and it was really entertaining them and giving them something.
I've seen Gary's work before, and every time I see it, the thing that always, it's artwork, but you can't, and it's clay or it's wood, but when he's all finished with it, it's totally transformed.
And I've known Gary now maybe a couple years, just a little bit through other friends. I've known Gary for
many, many years. I was trying to think earlier how long I had known him. I'd have to consult with him to be sure, but I've known him since he was his days in Cleveland, Ohio, and we've remained friends. He's moved twice since then, and I've stayed in touch with him and visit him several times a year.
Why did you leave Cleveland?
Well, I first left thinking, well, I'm going to move to the country, and so I moved to the country outside of Cleveland. And that turned out pretty well because I was still in the Cleveland area. It's like, if you want to come out to my house, you can be there in about an hour. And people would come out, and I was in contact, you know, the galleries and friends and fans. But then I moved to Pennsylvania, and that happened because of, you know, like the property was less expensive here and cut off from my audience and everything. And I felt like I fell flat. Well, that's what prompted me to go to Edinboro University. That's when I went to graduate school. I felt like I have new imagery in me. It's not coming out. I'm stuck. I need to try and experiment. I went over to the school. It felt like it had vitality and realness. And it's like, wow, this looks like this is something. What if I plug myself in? And so that wouldn't have happened maybe in Cleveland. So in a sense, it was good to not have the support, in that it forced me to maybe, if, you know, because you're kind of out in the cold,